And next up, we'll have Osayi.mov, also reading nonfiction. Her piece is titled Surprise Ending.
Hi. This is a short piece. It's a radio essay that was written last quarter in one of our nonfiction courses. It's called Surprise Ending. Clint Eastwood messed with me. I didn't see it coming. I had wanted a TV in my room for as long as I could remember, but it seemed like it was never going to happen. I must have been about 9, maybe 10, and my father had strict rules. I begged, and then finally I got one. It just appeared in my room one day, but it wasn't new. This was the equivalent of a thrift store find. It had a small screen, rounded at the corners, 2 antennas stuck out of the top, and the right side had chunky knobs that clicked each time you turned them to change the channel. Not that I had much reason for channel surfing. I could hardly get a clear image to come in. After fiddling with the antennas relentlessly one afternoon, I got a signal. I was elated. I'd found the 1971 Clint Eastwood movie, The Beguiled. It takes place during the Civil War, and Clint plays a wounded Yankee soldier who gets left behind in battle. He is discovered near a boarding school for girls, where the tenants quickly come to his rescue. His injuries keep him stationary, and he gets mixed up in all kinds of affairs with the young women as they nurse him back to health. I got the feeling if I had been watching the movie in the family room, I would have been admonished to turn the TV off. There was nothing particularly inappropriate about what I was seeing. It was a Saturday matinee, after all. But there was so much tension between Clint and the female actresses, all of them with their coquettish southern drawls and bouncy layered skirts. Even at my age, I couldn't help but notice some sexual undertones. Clint's character had been at war for a long time, far from the comforts of home, so to speak. And the women were also drawn to this handsome, rugged man, the only man they'd had in their company for months. The women characters had a thing for Clint. I was kind of wooed by him, too. This was different than the Clint Eastwood I'd heard about from my grandma, who was a big fan. I knew he'd acted in a bunch of westerns and created quite the stir playing some guy named Harry. But this was the first time I'd seen him in a movie, and he was nothing like the shoot-'em-up-and-take-names persona I'd imagined. In The Beguiled, Clint spends most of the movie either in pain in bed or hobbling around on 19th century crutches, with just enough strength to bat his eyelashes and flirt up a storm. I had a crush. But I was young, too young to think about how a movie was going to end while I was watching it. So when the drama between Clint and the young women in the household started to ratchet up, I wasn't sure where it was going. So I was completely caught off guard when Clint's character ends up being poisoned by the jealous matron in the bunch, and everything goes all wrong. I watched him writhe and gasp for air, tumbling to the floor. I watched him reach out and cry for help while the women did nothing but sit stone-faced. I watched his sandy brown hair fall back away from his face while his bright green eyes dulled with passing life. I was stunned. This was the first movie I'd seen where the main character doesn't make it out, where the center of the show doesn't see his own end coming. After all, even Pinocchio and Dumbo found their way. I sat there with my old TV hissing and buzzing, the screen suddenly jumping around, warning of the static and dead air to come. I sat there on my carpeted bedroom floor, my chin in my palms, my elbows on my knees, shocked that movies could end this way, that a character could hold some sway over you and then be taken from you just like that in a cold and cruel ending. And because I was young then, I didn't know anything about the screenwriter or the director. I just knew Clint, and I thought he'd done this to me. He toyed with me through my TV screen the way he toyed with those women, and I did not like being messed with like that. My TV sputtered to a low-toned hiss, and I got up to turn it off. The next morning, I dragged the set out of my room and left it near the garage. My father, surprised, asked me what was wrong. Didn't I like it anymore? No, I said. It doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Thank you.
Thank you, Osayi.